Hello, thank you for joining us. In this research symposium, we will be addressing the life science, content knowledge, and scientific skills the students in Georgia learn across the grades. This symposium was written by Carmen Juarez, Faith Pearson, and Jessica Smith. We are from the Department of Teacher Education at Valdosta State University, and we hope you enjoy this presentation.
As Georgia teachers, we are expected to teach the Georgia Standards of Excellence to provide our K-12 students opportunities to learn science. Pre-service science teachers' understanding of the GSC is important because it helps develop effective instruction. According to Contreras, Arredondo, Diaz, Inostroza, and Strickland, when given appropriate opportunities to examine the content standards such as GSC, pre-service teachers plan the curriculum in more detail compared to in-service teachers. Our main focus of this practitioner research is to identify the life science content knowledge and scientific skills that students in Georgia's K-5 are expected to learn across the grades.
We carefully examined K-5 Georgia Standards of Excellence to determine the pacing of content knowledge and growth of scientific skills and identify resources for both students and teachers to further develop and design science curricula. Throughout this presentation, we showcase our technological, pedagogical content knowledge by using an interactive Bitmoji virtual classroom.
Welcome to our science classroom. First, we will look at the content knowledge and scientific skills addressed in kindergarten. Our Georgia Standard of Excellence is obtain, evaluate, and communicate information to compare the similarities and differences in groups of organisms. The students will need to know how animals can be grouped according to their features and how plants can be grouped according to their features. The scientific skills that the students are expected to learn include comparing and contrasting, classifying and sorting, asking questions, communicating, carrying out investigations, engaging in arguments, and obtaining and evaluating information. The teachers will be responsible for teaching what living and non-living organisms are and how to classify them based on their features. This standard provides students with a starting ground in which they can recall what a plant and animal is and compare and contrast the plants and animals by their external features. On the next slide, you will see our Bitmoji classroom that is appropriate for a kindergarten student. In this slide, you will see bins in which the students can classify, compare and contrast, and group animals and plants according to their external features. And on the walls of our classroom, you will see posters and a smartboard in which the students can click on these items and be directly sent to a game or a source of information that builds on this content knowledge. Next, we will look at the content knowledge and scientific skills addressed in the first grade. Our Georgia Standard of Excellence is obtain and evaluate and communicate information about the basic needs of plants and animals. The students need to know how to label the parts of a plant, how the plants and animals grow and change, and how to compare the basic needs of the plants and animals. The scientific skills that the students are expected to learn include comparing and contrasting, classifying and sorting, asking questions, obtaining, evaluating and communicating information, developing and using models, and analyzing and interpreting data. The teacher will be responsible for teaching what living and non-living organisms need and the parts of a plant. This standard grows by accessing the student's prior knowledge, which includes the student's understanding about how the plants and animals can be grouped based on their external features. And then it builds on that knowledge by the student understanding how to compare and contrast the needs of the living organisms and understand how they meet those resources to grow. In our next slide, we will look at our Bitmoji classroom once again. This environment is made for a first grade student, and as you can see in the windowsill, we have our sunflower, in which his basic needs are being met through the sun and through the rain. And then on our smartboard, you will see some links that you can click and our students can click, and they will be directly sent to a game in which they will learn the basic needs of animals and plants.
The second grade science standard we chose was obtain, evaluate, and communicate information about the life cycles of different living organisms. Students need to know about plants and the function of their structures, the life cycles of both plants and animals, and how plants are pollinated by animals. The scientific skills that students are expected to learn or be able to do is compare and contrast, classify or sort, ask questions, communicate, and infer. Teachers in second grade will be responsible for teaching the life cycles of plants and animals and about how changes in habitats can affect the functioning, pollination, and life cycles of plants and animals. In first grade, students were comparing and contrasting the basic needs of living organisms and how they use their resources to grow. In second grade, students compare and contrast the life cycles of plants and animals and examine the growth and changes that happen within those life cycles, and then they also learn about pollination. On this interactive slide, students are able to visually see the difference between the life cycle of a plant and the life cycle of an animal. Students are also able to see that both plants and animals grow and reproduce in order to continue the life cycle. For more practice with the life cycle of a plant, the students can click on the image with the sunflower to practice putting the events of the life cycle in order. Students can do the same thing for the life cycle of a butterfly by clicking on the image of the butterfly. On the other side of the diagram, demonstrating the pollination process and that the bee, who is the pollinator, transfers the pollen from one plant to another. For more activities to teach students about pollination, the teacher can click on the image with the two flowers, and for interactive games relating to pollination, the students can click on the yellow bee. The science third grade life science standard that we chose was obtain, evaluate, and communicate information about the similarities and differences between plants, animals, and habitats found within Georgia regions. In third grade, students need to know how the Georgia regions occupied by plants and animals and the similarities and differences in the plants, animals, and habitats within those regions. The scientific skills that students are expected to learn include comparing and contrasting, classifying, sorting, asking questions, communicating, inferring, planning and carrying out investigations, engaging in argument, and using critical thinking. Pre-service or certified teachers are responsible for teaching the students about the Georgia regions occupied by plants and animals and the specific animals that live in each region. Students should have prior knowledge about the life cycles, including the growth and change of plants and animals over time, and know more about pollination. By third grade, the students should be learning how to compare and contrast the plants, animals, and habitats found within different Georgia regions. On this interactive slide, students are able to visually see the similarities and differences between the plants and animals in different Georgia regions. For more information on Georgia habitats, teachers can click on the whiteboard that takes them to a link with content-specific vocabulary, characteristics of each region, a map of Georgia split into the different regions, and many other resources that would be helpful when teaching this standard.
In fourth grade, the students will learn the standard to obtain, evaluate, communicate information about the roles of organisms and the flow of energy within an ecosystem. The students will need to know ecosystems, food chains and webs, changes impacting ecosystems such as climate change, asteroids, human causes, and disease. What scientific skills students are expected to learn? They'll be learning how to compare and contrast, classify and sort, asking questions, communicating, inferring, and planning and carrying out investigations, developing new models, designing solutions. What will teachers be responsible to teach? They'll be they will be responsible to teach what an ecosystem is, the difference between a food chain and a food web, the changes impacting ecosystems and what they mean, climate change, human causes, and diseases. The student will the standard will grow as the prior knowledge of students compare and contrast the plants, animals, and habitats found within different Georgia regions. In fourth grade, students compare and contrast the similarities and differences between food chain webs, understand what an ecosystem is, and changes impacting ecosystems. Now that we've covered the fourth grade knowledge and scientific skills, we will see how students can apply their knowledge by using academic online games. In this slide, students are given access to different games on each poster. Students will be encouraged to scroll over each poster and click on the attached links to learn more. In fifth grade, the students will obtain, evaluate, and communicate information to group organisms using scientific classification procedures. The students will need to know how to compare and contrast animals and plants, internal and or external structures. The scientific skills that students are expected to learn are comparing, contrasting, classify, sort, asking questions, communicating, inferring, developing new models, and interpreting data. The teachers will be responsible for what is an invertebrate, how invertebrates are sorted into groups such as fish, amphibian, reptile, bird, and mammals, how plants are sorted into groups such as seed producers versus non-seed producers. The standard will grow as the students will use their prior knowledge with students comparing and contrasting the similarities and differences between food chains and webs, understanding what an ecosystem is and the changes that impact ecosystems. In fifth grade, the students will compare and contrast animals and plants with different internal or external features or structures. As you can see, there are posters on this wall, and there is a plant classification. As you scroll over each poster, there will be a given link, and the students will be encouraged to follow the link and learn more about plant classifications, classification of animals, and the non-seed producers and seed producers as well.
In kindergarten, students learn about how to classify a sunflower as a plant based on its external features. However, once they get to first grade, they start to understand and learn that a sunflower needs air, light, water, and fertilizer in order for it to grow. Then, once they get to second grade, they can combine their prior knowledge from kindergarten and first grade in order to understand the life cycle of a sunflower. Once they understand the life cycle of a sunflower, they can then learn about the different Georgia regions that sunflowers grow in. After learning about the Georgia regions that sunflowers grow in, the students learn about how and where the sunflower fits in on the food chain or food web. Then, in fifth grade, students can use their prior knowledge about the life cycle in order to understand how to group the sunflower using scientific classification procedures.
In conclusion, the focus of this practitioner research was to identify the life science content knowledge and scientific skills students in Georgia K through 5 settings are expected to learn across the grades. Additionally, we focused on researching effective resources for both students and teachers to access in order to further develop and design science curricula.
For any questions regarding this presentation, please contact Dr. Regina Suriel at Valdosta State University. Thank you for viewing our presentation. We hope you enjoy.